Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards, with your host, Mel Blackmore.
Hi, and welcome to the ISO Show. Welcome back for this second part in a series on management review. So, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, management review is a mandatory requirement of all the mainstream ISO management system standards, such as ISO 14001 for environmental management, right through to the information security standard ISO 27001. So, the purpose of this podcast episode is to help you to plan your management review, what you need to do in terms of collating information for management review, the different styles of management review, so different options and how you can conduct that, and then moving forward into, the facilitation of that management review and reporting on the findings as well, in terms of leading into actionable events following on from the management review. So let's kick off with, what you need to consider when you're planning for that management review. So first of all, give yourself plenty of time. Make sure that you've got a date well in advance if you're expecting others to attend, okay? It's good to give them a heads up on what's going to be covered, so a copy of the agenda well in advance is useful, and sticking to the date. So the management review, if this is the first time that you're doing it should be completed after the majority of your internal audits have been completed. And the reason for that is you need to review your internal audit results at the management review. But of course, you can't audit the management review until you've done the management review. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg, really. But yeah, get most of the internal audits completed, and then you've got some evidence there on performance in terms of non-conformities, opportunities for improvement, and where the company is doing really well as far as compliance is concerned. And of course, just make sure that you've confirmed attendance for top management as well in advance, and making sure that you've got the right people available at the right time. So it doesn't need to be all the chiefs. It doesn't need to be a very expensive meeting that they need to be in attendance for. It's getting the right people available that can contribute regarding the performance of the business. So once you've set that agenda, it might be worthwhile just providing a bit of an overview on the purpose of it. Why are they showing up at that meeting? There's nothing worse than turning up at a meeting and not knowing why you're there and what contribution you're expected to make. So that you could gather information on some of those inputs that we talked about in the previous episode in readiness for that review. So there are actually 3 different ways that you can deliver a management review. Number 1 is the traditional route. Okay, so that's a traditional meeting with a formal report read, discussed, and additional notes are noted during the meeting. And that could either be in person or online via Teams or Zoom. But it is a traditional meeting, and that could be once a year, or it could be more frequent than that. Okay, again, it's entirely up to you. The standard does not dictate how frequently you should have your management review. It should be at planned intervals. Okay, so that's open to interpretation. The second option for management review is pulling together your key data on business performance. So that could be on information security if your standard is ISO 27001, for example. Pulling together a PowerPoint presentation which can act as a report, and you can distribute that and invite feedback. So you could also use video recording, so you can personalise it with Bloom or other methods. It could be, via Teams. But what you're doing there is you're presenting the information and you are inviting as a 2-way communication feedback on specific areas. The third option is to actually break down management review into different intervals across the organisation at different times of year. So let's say at Blackmores, for example, we will have weekly meetings where we're actually reviewing specific KPIs, but they're really, really specific. It's not the full agenda of management review, it's just specific things that we want to be able to basically keep our finger on the pulse of business activities week by week. But we also have a monthly team meeting where we might review certain things, like suppliers, or any issues or concerns. And then we have a quarterly meeting with the leadership team where we'll review against our objectives. So what we're actually doing is breaking down components of management review. So rather than doing it once a year, we're actually breaking it down into relevant things that suit our business culture. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. This is just our way of doing it. But we do have a formal management review after our strategy day each year in January, where we pull together all of our data and have all the key decision makers involved in that review. So there are the three different ways. So there's the formal traditional meeting, there's the PowerPoint route where you're inviting feedback and feeding that into the process, and then finally breaking down management review across different meetings and functional activities throughout the year. So it's whatever works for you basically. So in terms of facilitating a management review, it is really important that the emphasis is placed on driving continual improvement. In order to be able to do that, we need to base that on evidence. So not, I think, we should be doing X. It should really be based on the evidence that you've got, based on the data, which are part of your inputs that we covered on the previous episode. So if you haven't listened to the previous episode, go back and listen to an example of what the inputs are. Because all of that goes towards creating an effective management review. So just a kind of reminder on what some of those inputs could be. I won't go through all of them, and it does vary from standard to standard, but there are some common areas. Things like results of your internal audits, risks and opportunities, stages of compliance, recommendations for improvement. But it does vary from standard to standard, but typically review of objectives are always in there, and review of resource needs as well. And in the next episode, we're going to be talking with Rachel Churchman to give you really juicy examples on the sorts of things that we've actually reviewed at Blackmores, so you can kind of put that into context with the type of information you could be reviewing to then make decisions on as a leadership team. Okay, because remember, you can add any other items that you want to that, which could be contractor performance. If you're heavily dependent on your supply chain, that's really key to your business performance. It's worthwhile reviewing that periodically too. Now, this could be the first time that you're chairing a meeting, okay? Or you may be very comfortable with chairing meetings. Either way, when you're running this management review meeting, you want to be inspiring confidence in the management system and emphasise the positives in terms of, the purpose of having this meeting. So be confident, speak with authority, and base the discussions on facts. Okay, the facts that you've already prepared in readiness for this management review. And also, which is crucial, make sure that you encourage feedback from all of those that are involved in the management review. And of course, you need to make agreements and document any actions that need to take place following on from that management review. So they're just some of the key tips really to facilitating that management review. If you haven't chaired a meeting before, because we can't make any assumptions. Sometimes people work on one-to-ones or work in teams, but they may not necessarily have a responsibility for chairing and coordinating input from others to then produce outputs and actions. So when you do collect the report, and again, it's up to you in terms of what style you do this in. Okay, there's lots of different ways. But just make sure that you pull all the relevant information together, okay, and that it's easily accessible, it's easy to read and understand. So you might want to have dashboards and some executive summary in there, for example. So you do want to have sufficient detail in the report, but you don't want to go overboard. So you might want to link out to other locations, but you want to try and feed in all the relevant information that's going to help to inform decisions. We have come across some management review reports from companies, and the answer to, let's say non-conformities, 0. Okay, but maybe that actually they have had non-conformities, but they're just not putting them in the report, or worse still, it's a copy and paste from the previous year. Or there's just, in terms of customer feedback, no customer feedback. Well, you need to dig a bit deeper than that, because That's not serving the management team. That is not serving the CEO. They want to know exactly what's going on within the business. Okay. So, this isn't a beauty parade for an assessor. The purpose of management review is to review the performance of your business. So try and kind of have that at the forefront of your mind. What value are we getting out of this? Okay, so you want to be able to drive that. And we'll cover that in a lot more detail with Rachel with some real life examples. So and once that report's been collated, make sure that it's been distributed to all the key relevant stakeholders as well. So finally, obviously if you've reviewed data, you've made decisions at the meeting, you've agreed actions and next steps, it's important that these are then transferred into, whatever mechanism you use within your business to get things done. Okay, so that could be in a SharePoint system. We use Monday.com. It could be Asana. It could be a project management tool. You might have an issues tracker. There are lots of different things that you'll have within your business that enables you to be able to log an action, report on it, deliver on it. So it's important that you do capture them and that they are progressed to deliver continual improvement, because otherwise there's no point. So you might have something like a continual improvement log that you might want to transfer it into. So there are lots of different ways that you can capture your actions. And again, this will all depend on your company style, your management system. I think the key thing here, though, is to, once they're logged, is to have follow-ups to make sure that they've actually been completed. You don't want to leave it another year until your next management review and nothing's been done and you're back at square one again. So make sure that it is a dynamic process across your organisation, and it is serving you. It is driving continual improvement. So hopefully that's just given you a bit of a snapshot on how to plan, how to prepare, how to facilitate and report on your management review, and giving you 3 options on different ways that you can deliver that management review. So if you found that helpful, please do leave a comment, or if you've got anything else that you'd like to discuss concerning management review, then just drop us a line. Just a reminder that there is training on management review, how to do this in ISOlogy Hub, which is our online portal for all things ISO. So it's kind of like a Netflix version of ISO standard support. So it's got templates, it's got tutorials, videos, e-learning courses to help you to create better management systems and to raise your standards within your organisation. So feel free to get in touch with us to get access to that. So you can go straight onto ISOlogy Hub and join as a member. That's on www.isologyhub.com. Or if you would like one of our consultants at Blackmores to actually chair a management review meeting for you, if you're thinking, well, actually, I'd like an expert to do this for the first time, and then we can we're happy to do it ourselves after that. Or it's just something that you'd like somebody independent to chair your management review meetings on an ongoing basis. Management review is a service that we offer a lot of clients, about 80% of our clients. We actually chair the management reviews for them because we help with the generation of the inputs, the data, and act as a facilitator to gather that data and to coordinate all those key representatives so that we can have those open and honest discussions about business performance and for them to agree on the decisions and actions that they can take forward. So, once again, thanks very much for listening to the podcast today. I hope you found that useful. Regardless of whether you're certified to an ISO standard or not. And, if you haven't done a management review before, don't worry. You will have minimal amount of data to review because obviously your management system is in its infancy. So just be mindful of that and good luck with that. And I think, if you already facilitate management reviews, and I hope that you found this useful in terms of looking at different ways of chairing a management review, via either the online route with presentations or breaking it down into manageable kind of bite-size reviews that are going to be more effective for your business. So thanks for listening, and I look forward to catching up with you on the next ISO show.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.